This is Moving Soulward, the podcast about growing a business at the intersection of strategy, spirituality, and self-care. We're your hosts, Katie McLaughlin, your Be Good guide, and
Maria Spiralis, the lunar lawyer. We love a good inspirational story, but we're not interested in just profits or bottom lines. Though don't get us wrong, those things are important.
in Moving Soulward, expect to hear conversations with entrepreneurs who are at all different stages of building a business, with two important things in common. Success means something different to each of them, and you don't have to sell your soul to get what you want.
Prioritizing stillness, systems, energies, and service are all valuable and necessary parts of mindful entrepreneurship. Now grab your favorite card deck, a warm mug, spark up a candle, and listen in.
This week on Moving Soulward, we have Fabi, a spiritual guide, energy healer, and mentor who helps individuals and healers align their lives and businesses with their true purpose. She empowers her clients to build healing businesses that reflect their authentic selves while fostering personal growth and inner peace.
By blending self-care strategies and intuitive tools like human design and energy healing, she creates transformative experiences that guide others toward holistic success and fulfillment. You're going to love this conversation with Fabi.
Welcome, Fabi. We're so excited to talk to you today. Maria's here too, obviously, and it's just going to be so fun. We're big Fabi fans. We love Fabi.
We do. So excited to be here.
Let's jump right in. I want to first, and this might be a loaded question for you because you do so many different things. I really want to get a brief description for the audience of what you do and how do you categorize yourself? How do you introduce yourself in a room full of people as a fellow multi-hyphenate? How do you explain this is what I do, this is who I help, this is who I am?
Yeah, manifesting generator for the win over here. So multi-hyphenated, definitely. So I am a spiritual and business guide for healers. And this is something I was just talking to my LBM before this, and I was explaining to them because I'm onboarding a new VA, explaining to them the journey of getting here. And as a manifesting generator, it's like picking from all of the different things that I've done. So I have 13 years of experience in finance, in corporate. I also have significant experience in being a healer. And so I help healers to be able to match their dharma with their healing experience and also inside of their business. And so I don't only do healing, I don't only do business consulting. I say I'm not a business coach, but it's just so interesting. Like I kept pushing against the business coach kind of moniker, and it just kept coming up with my clients who are all healers. And I saw such a huge need for conscious people who have experience in business, and you both have that multi-hyphenate experience to be able to really merge the experience that you have in business with what you know about energetics, what you know about healing, what you know about parts, what you know about how to heal wounds, because nothing is in a vacuum, right? And so I think healers need support from people who, isn't going to charge them significantly for another mastermind or for another, promise of a 10K month. And I was looking for someone like this. And so when I couldn't find someone like a person that I can ask business advice from that understands that I want to talk to my spirit guides about it, when I couldn't find that person, my guides were like, it's because it's you. So I decided I was going to become that person. But I always say, like, I was trolling Instagram, trying to find a business coach or a guide that I don't have to explain to them what a chakra is, right? Like we need more for healers, and healers need more than the cookie cutter business support. And so that's kind of like one of the things that was thrusted upon me in the last few months of like, oh, okay, all these healers are coming to me and they don't have experience in financial planning and financial analysis and creating structure. And one thing I always say is like the masculine container that is required for you to really step into and fully step into your intuition is the structure that's needed, the systems that's needed. You can't be like running on ragged and being your masculine so much and still want to expand your feminine flow and expand your capacity and grow your healing gifts. It just needs that container. And that's what I'm really excited and I'm creating for my clients, because I see healers as the next iteration of healing, obviously, the entire planet, as you guys know. But more and more people I see are burning out because they don't have that container.
Yeah, I love how you're framing. I mean, we talk a lot about balancing masculine and feminine, that you need both to be successful.
Yeah.
And we are very much in a culture in America of like business needs to be masculine only and healing needs to be feminine only, or like these constructs, or this it's very polarizing, right? So I like the idea of accessing both and using them together and say, okay, I can really drop into my feminine and I can work with, clients. If I'm a healer, I can work with clients to really connect with them and heal wounds and really go on that journey. But I can also drop into my masculine and look at the numbers and look at, how do I create structures and systems so that this is sustainable, right? It's like those two together. It's like that Jupiter and Saturn. I mean, there's a lot of different dichotomies that we could talk
Yeah.
about. So with that, can you talk a little bit about like what types of healers, when you say healer, like who are you working with? What does healer mean to you? And then also, how are you working with them? So like what are the types of containers that you're creating, or is it one-on-one, is it virtual, is it in person? Like give us a picture of like what this looks like for you.
Yeah, I always say, well, it's so interesting because I think we had a boom. You guys probably remember a few years ago we had a boom of coaches, right? Everyone was life coach. Everyone went through a coaching program, then the coach, right? And then people started waking up and then they realized, oh, actually, I'm a healer. I'm not actually only a coach, right? And so I think the moniker of healer, I was kind of like sitting with the guys of like, should I say coach as well? Should I say soulpreneur? They kept being like healer. This is the word we're using, because when and if you are still in the spiritual closet and you struggle with calling yourself a healer, that's the first sign of a witch wound. And we're going to work on it, right? So it's like, okay, cool. So a healer is anyone and everyone who is here to either heal themselves or heal others and support the collective ascension of on earth. So whatever that means to you, if you feel like that's something that your soul is calling to, and you feel some level of like, I don't know if that's something that I could call myself. It probably is because you have a witch wound and we need to work on it, because there probably was some type of past life where you were burned at the stake because you stepped into your healing abilities, right?
Really quickly, I wanted to hop in here and tell you something that you probably already know if you're listening to this podcast, but just in case you don't, Katie and I are hosting the first annual Soulward Summit conference. This is a business conference for mindful leaders, for mindful achievers, for business owners who know that they should listen to their intuition, who know they shouldn't get stuck in hustle culture mode, but sometimes they do, and you want to really incorporate your intrinsic gifts, your own authenticity into your business and your brand and take it to the next iteration of your dream. And so if you're interested, head to soulwardsummit.com and you'll get all of the details there on tickets and ticket options. We hope to see you there.
And so I see so many healers who don't even want to call themselves that. Like they're like, oh, I'm a embodiment coach. And I'm like, are you really? It's okay, you can be that. We'll work on it. So I really am like anyone who feels I'm very much someone who only works with people who are really like, I'm not going to force you and I'm not going to convince you to work with me. It needs to be a full body yes. And sometimes people aren't ready for my medicine, is what I always say, right? If you're not have not been doing this for a while, or if you've not been doing your own spiritual work for a while, if you've not been doing your own work for a while, then we may not match. And I will love you, but I will tell you, oh, maybe go work with this person first and then come back to me. I know that I can't be for everyone. And so for me, it's those people who have been doing the healing work for a while. They are healers. They may have a business, they may be a coach, and for themselves, they've either forgotten that they need to do their own healing, right? So like you have a spiritual awakening, you have like an ayahuasca ceremony, like completely like reawakening, right? You start your healing business. You've been doing it for a while, and then you forget that you actually need to still do your own healing process. You need to delve into your gifts deeper. You need to actually focus on yourself. So those healers that aren't focusing on themselves, that's where I come in and like, you need to also have someone hold you as you're holding all these clients. And then this type of containers that I create, it's so interesting because my clients are all online right now. And I only work online, and I moved from in person to online. I have clients in Costa Rica, I have clients in New York, I have clients in London, I have clients in Canada. Like it's all over the place from like location. And what I've noticed that there's a difference in how people in Nashville, where we are, see the work I do and people in other places. I think there's a maturity that needs to happen in the conscious community in Nashville. One, to see the value of the services that we provide or that I provide. And also, I don't know, it's like I'm still kind of trying to figure out what the Nashville scene looks like, but I've really seen so many other places where people come out of the woodwork, and they've been working with people. It's not foreign for them to work with someone that does the work that I do. And so the type of containers I hold for people is I kind of call them three buckets. So one is the person who really wants to do like an intensive. They have a specific thing that they want to work through. I work a lot. I have a few clients they want to consciously conceive. So that means they may have some type of issues with IVF, infertility. They've tried like multiple different Western medicine, and they realize that there's an energetic reason why they are having a hard time to conceive. Or I have another client that she is going through cancer. And so she is also trying to see like what is the energetic reason for her to like how can she like go at this in a different way. So we are working through like an intensive where it's like a 6 week period, and we meet weekly and we talk every day on Telegram, and I work with them through different healing modalities. And because I'm such a hyphenated like person, I kind of work on multiple different things. So I could, in one session, we could be doing a past life regression, and we could do an internal family systems IFS parts work. Or like it's not just like, oh, I'm going to send you to this person to do this work, because I really believe that whatever needs to come through, it's not about like the modality. I'm a vessel for source and for spirit. And so whatever this client needs at this time, it'll look different. And so I do something called an energy audit for all my clients. And it's basically a full-on assessment of all the energy, whether they have entity attachments, soul ties, past life ties, what are their wounds, where are their chakras, what chakras needs to be open, balanced, literally go through a whole process of understanding like a snapshot of where you are. And then we work through that similar to like a literally a doctor's like treatment plan. And whatever comes throughout our sessions, we meet in person, and then throughout the week, I guide them towards their own intuition to help them really hone that I'm not your guru, I'm your guide, and I continue to push them back to their own intuition and their guides. And one thing that you guys know I'm very passionate about is guide work. And so the first thing I do, and a requirement for me, is that we go through something called my mind palace meditation in our first session. And so that means that we create a mind palace where you can connect with your guides in a visceral, like people see their guides for the first time. I had someone just onboard me with me on Monday, and she was like, I have never felt so much visual love she was like, I feel like I see someone. And we said at the same time, I was like, Mother Mary. She's like, oh my gosh, I wanted to say Mother Mary, but I wasn't sure if it was true. And I see so many people that are, she's been a healer for years, and she's a somatic, she feels a lot of like viscerally the experience, but she doesn't know how to connect them with who is coming through. And there isn't like a structure around her practice of connecting with her guides. And so that's the one bucket. It's basically like pure energy healing. And then the second bucket it's the business side of things. So I can help clients go from, it was so funny. We did a boardroom session, is what I call it, where I have you go into your mind palace and imagine a boardroom with a whiteboard, and you bring in literally Yahweh, Yeshua, Archangel Michael, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, like the whole group, and we map out your like next 6 months, and basically like January, February, March, this is what your focus should be. This is what you should do in your business. This is how many clients you should call in. This is what is in the highest for you to like in detail. What are things that you need to stop doing? What are things that you need to continue doing? It's so cool because I'm like, this is the level of detail people should go to their guides to, and they're not. And I'm helping my clients bridge the gap because you have access to this. It's just your doubt is stopping you from being like, did I really think like, is that what they said? Is that my ego? Is that my human? And then, so that's the second bucket. And I'm actually working on, I'm very excited. I'm going to do like a group program for that more to come later, because I'm still kind of, it's still percolating specifically as it relates to business. And then the last bucket is one-on-one mentorship, which is basically the first two for a longer period of time. So a 6-month mentorship where we really like go into whether it's business and personal or whatever. It's just kind of like here, I'm a healer and I know I need support, and I'm going to invest my money and time into finding someone and mentoring with someone who can really support me on my journey.
I mean, there's so much to unpack there. I'm so excited. I think that like one of the things, or a couple of things kept coming up as you were talking that are similar themes to what we've heard on other people we've had on that are doing similar work, right? So there's a few themes that I wanted to call out. One, that the like Nashville specifically has some energetics in the past we've talked about, we're in the Bible Belt. There's some stigma stuff, like there's a lot going on there, and I want to get into that a little bit more later. And then also I think just even hearing you frame it out, I think there's a lot of people who are like, okay, I'm going to go sign up for a sound bath and I'm going to feel this way after a sound bath. And it's a little bit harder to like latch on to, I have a problem or a block. I know how I'm feeling, but I don't necessarily know what my block is. I know where I am and where I want to get to. And then if I work with you, you're not necessarily picking, you have a whole toolkit which we could go into. I'm sure we could go do a whole, episode just on internal family systems or on energy healing or on chakras or on like, I mean, each one of these words I feel like needs definitions in the show notes for for our audience. But it sounds like you look at, do the audit around
Yeah.
the person. And then from there, you're using your, toolkit to say, this is like and your guides and their guides of how we're going to unpack that, how we're going to do it. And then it sort of unfolds from there, which is a lot harder to sort of package up in a neat little bow for people. I imagine.
And no, it is. But I always say it's a root cause. Like I'm going at the root cause, right? Like
Yeah.
we can talk for days about, your, like one of my clients was like, well, yesterday I actually had a client and she was like, I just don't want to do my taxes. And I was like, I was like, let's pause a little bit there. What's coming up when you don't want to do your taxes? Like go in. Who is showing up? And so we literally, her dad showed up, and then her grandma showed up, and her great grandma showed up. And we realized that there's this poverty and scarcity in her dad's maternal line, generational trauma and birth wound that came through. And then we realized, oh, it was because the masculine wasn't supporting the feminine because all the women had to be in their masculine. And then we realized, oh, what is her dad like? It was literally like it started with, I don't want to do my taxes. And I was like, wait, there's something there. Let's get into that. So I always am like, there always is an energetic reason for every single thing. And whenever my clients come to me with this came up today, I have this trigger identification exercise, and it's a whole process you can do every day where you go through your day and you figure out what your trigger is. And I step by step walk through, how do you then identify like what is it tied to? And it really isn't about an hour honestly an hour chakra balancing session every other month. It's not about a sound bath. That is maintenance. It's great. It's nice. It's fun. But you need to actually go to the root cause and really heal. Like we brought in like the divine masculine to hold that line. And she felt immediately that impact of, oh my goodness, I could breathe when I think about my money, right? Like we bring in Archangel Michael to like heal and like cut the cord if there's a past life tie, right? It's so interesting when I do the audit, and as the weeks go by, it comes up, and then I'm like, oh, there it is. All right, we're going to work on that now. That you have three past life ties. So in the audit, I'm like, so I find three past life ties, and that's they sometimes give me more about those, but maybe that's just all they. And like clockwork, first 3 weeks, specific instances of things that come up in their lives where we can go in, we go to that past life, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is why this is keeps happening in my life, right? But if you don't actually go to the root cause of the wound and where it comes from and heal it at that level, it's going to come up over and over because your body wants to heal. It's talking to you all the time. Everything, the universe wants to be in equilibrium. And so it's going to come up until you actually look at it. And so you're right. Like I see it as like the next iteration of healing is this way of going at looking at the holistic person versus just saying, oh, I do this. And then you go to this person for this. Like when I was still like in my process of, we're always in the process, but when I was kind of going through my dark nights of the soul and going through my awakenings, I would like, okay, I need to go to this person. Maybe I should do like one, I don't even know where to start. Two, I don't even know what to do. And then three, who do I go to? Right. So I go a Reiki here and then I do chakra balancing there. There's so many different people and it's confusing. But the thing is, what I've realized is for me as a business owner, the two most important things you need to really understand is who you're serving and who you're not serving. Like those two things is so important. So who I'm not serving is someone who I need to handhold through this process. Like you need to come up ready. You need to come to me ready to like heal. I'm the person you come to when you're over it, fucking done. You're like, I've tried all the things. I am ready, right? Like, because one, I'm not cheap. Two, I don't want to waste my time to like be more invested in your healing than you are, right? So it is interesting because for some reason that's just like I don't see people. I don't know if like you said, is it Nashville or what it is, but I feel like people don't want to go deep into the work here locally. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to assume anything, but it's it's still kind of this mentality of like kind of surface level. Sometimes when I speak to people, it's like, oh, like I'm doing this, but I don't really want to talk about like the the things in the closet. It's like, okay, let's just play around over here. I don't know. I don't want to make like assumption or even like blanket anything about the community here, but I do feel like there needs to the word that comes up. It's like the maturity. Like there needs to be some level of maturity in the conscious community, and like you said, there is still a lot of like stigma around the woo-woo stuff and the spirituality, Bible Belt.
And I think it could be an income thing too, because there's a lot of trading that goes on in
Yeah,
Nashville. And like that level of, okay, I'm actually going to invest in my healing.
Yeah.
that's true.
Well, and I also think, I mean, I think it's just like also where you're focused, right? You're focused on, you're passionate about like a depth, right? And so there's stuff that needs to happen for someone to get to that
Yeah,
depth, right? And further down that process. And because, healing and going inward and identifying your wounds and like that is not, common. That's not we're not taught that growing up. A lot of people aren't taught that growing up, right? So I feel like at the baseline it's harder to access that. So I just
yeah,
think that there's like as we shift and move forward and expand and those things like people wanting to go deeper, there'll be more of that. as the years go by. So I think
I
like that's just sort of the nature with where we're at in the world right now. So
I
that
agree.
that gives me a good idea of sort of like where you're at, what you're focused on, how you work with people. Now we want to do Maria's going to do a little lightning round if you're up for it, just to get to know like more about like you, the human Fabi on this earth. Who is she?
Love it.
Yes. We'll do these kind of rapid fire style, but what is your favorite warm beverage right now?
Chai all the time, all the time.
Chai. Okay. She loves chai. Current Netflix or podcast binge?
Oh, is it Cake? I watched it with my 6-year-old. She's 6. Love that show.
Oh, I don't know it.
You should
Oh
watch it.
my god, it's so good. They make cakes and they look like real things and it's like
Oh my
very
god.
it's like a bit
They
of a
made
mind fuck,
a toilet
honestly.
cake. They made a toilet cake the other day. I was like, who makes it? Like, who is this people? It's sometimes it's so hard to guess what like who. It's so well done. Watch it. It's good.
Okay. Deal. Last book you read that you couldn't put down?
Oh goodness, the Celestine Prophecy.
Hmm.
I don't read big fiction anymore. Oh my gosh. I used to read a lot of fiction. I like have a lot of recommendations, but I'm like so into nonfiction these days because it's just there's so much there to consume. So Celestine Prophecy, highly recommend.
Your favorite self care or spiritual hygiene ritual?
I do this like container setting meditation every time before I work with clients, and I actually have it on my website. Go download it if you want, and it's basically where I do a grounding cord and call in the guides to create a bubble of protection around me, and I guide my clients through those, and it's good.
Hmm. We will link to it in the show notes.
Yeah,
How do you get most of your clients?
online, honestly, like and referrals, like people who are like, I can't stop talking about you to my friend. And then their friend comes. So, but yeah, I think social media is really helpful, but I've seen it be more of like a, hey, this is what I'm doing, not necessarily like here are the clients. I think the people, buy from people who they know, like, and trust, and the work that we're doing is so deep and it's so personal that you need to kind of really have a good sense of the person. And I don't know if social media necessarily gives that 100%. And so I think for me, I've seen so much referrals and people just like can't stop talking about the work that I did for them. And then their friends also want it.
I tend to agree about social media. I think it's kind of like a legitimizer, like, oh, she kind of seems like she knows what she's talking about, but not necessarily something that like someone might book brand new if they haven't otherwise heard from you
No, the
before.
first thing you outsource to your VA because you can spend your time on other things.
What is one thing you wish you knew before you started this business?
Oh, goodness. Well, it's my spirit guides and how to connect with them and how to really trust my intuition and to hone that skill. And there's not a question that is too dumb or too specific to ask them. They're here to help.
That's so good. What is the best life advice you've ever received?
Yeah, this was from Sophia, and she said, "The more you worry about money, the more you're going to worry about money." And it was like, okay, money is a construct that we created here on Earth, and you can either be like this, like close fisted about it, or you can have your arms or hands open, and the flow will happen. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's
Good
a
one.
real good one.
Mhm.
I feel like, but we need to create like a roundup of everyone's life advice. It's like here's
I
how to
love
do this
that.
work. So let's take it back a little bit. So you talked a little bit about corporate America. When did you claim this work as what you do? Like, what did that look like? What was the shift from I'm doing finance to I'm helping to heal people, helping people heal themselves. Like, what was that like?
What a story. Okay, so I'm from South Africa originally. So I was born in South Africa. I signed my you would love this. I signed my employment contract in 2018 with PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. And that was like the first, like, sort of college that year. I was going to become a CPA. This was like my life was planned out. Everything was in line. I transferred to America with the company. So I worked for them in America, met my husband, had my daughter, and then life hit me in the face because I realized that I was overworking, high functioning anxiety, burnt out, all the things, right? What happens a lot of times when people have children. And so I realized that wasn't sustainable anymore. I went from client facing to internal, and then 2020 happened. And then the entire world realized, oh shit, none of this is going to work for any of us. So I slowly moved from 100% to 80% to 50%. And as I was doing that, I started other businesses. I did all of these other things because I'm a manager, and it's all a winding road. And I started, like, I've always been spiritual. I grew up in what I would so call a cult, but I grew up in a very Christian religious home. My dad was a pastor, had a big reconstruction period, kind of was thrusted into spirituality probably about 4 years ago, and just like read about everything and like had all of these big awakening moments and really delve into like doing the work and all of this stuff. And then I realized, actually, this is funny. So I went to go do a master Reiki certification. I'd never done Reiki on myself or someone else doing it on me. I was just like, oh, this sounds interesting. How about I just like, spend, I don't know how much money and like how many hours and just like become a Reiki certified Reiki master. And I did the whole thing. And pretty soon after that, I was like, oh, I actually don't want to do Reiki, but I want to do energy healing. And so I kind of started the dots between different types of modalities and energy healing. I started my energy healing little toolkit because I felt like Reiki was very restrictive for what I wanted to do. So I was like, oh, it was interesting because I did the Reiki attunement and it felt like, oh, you've been here before. Okay, cool. Now what's next? So fast forward to end of last year, beginning of this year, when I kind of really started seeing clients more often. And this is when I was seeing clients in person, mostly just for energy work. And I was like, I really feel like there's something like another level to this. And that was the most of this year was a big dark night of the soul, spiritual awakening. I went through significant depression and went on SSRIs and was on suicide watch, and the stories that we go through, you know what I mean? It is, I feel like when you are here for a big mission, you sign up for big lessons. And I did that, and I started channeling a lot, and I really unlocked the gifts that I have and I've pulled in from other lifetimes. And I realized what my star seed galactic family is about and what my mission is here. But it also was like, it's not time yet. You need to wait. It's not time yet. Because I was like, so when am I going to quit my job? I want to quit my job, right? And so I was still working 50% at PwC. And I was hating it. And I was like, I kept getting it's not time yet. It's not time yet. But then in the same vein, they were like, do this and like, started this and do things on the side. And they were kind of guiding me through. But they were still like, nope, you're still going to do your job. And I would dread it. I would like start working on Tuesdays and be like, oh, I don't want to do this. And it was so like, it was 6 to 7 or 8 months of like, I hated every minute of it. But now looking back, I probably would never have actually quit because it was a steady paycheck for, it was 20 hours a week. It was super easy. And so on November 19th, when Pluto moved into Aquarius, that 13-year cycle that started in 2018 came to a close when I got fired from PwC.
Can
They were
relate,
doing
Bobby,
layoff.
can relate. We have similar stories. The universe will kick you out of the nest. And it's like, it's not ready. It's not time. It's not time. And then it's like, bam, now it's time.
Bam.
Go heal.
So that day, I started my day and I got a meeting invite from the partner I was supposed to work with in HR. I was like to myself, I'm getting fired today. And I didn't tell anyone else because I was like, I'm not, like, who am I going to say this to? Because maybe it's not true, but I was like, I'm definitely getting fired today. We got on the phone call, very monotone, Whereas, unfortunately, so today is your last day at the firm. Please, would you be like, send your laptop in, we'll send you a box. And I was like, what? Even though I was like ecstatic on the inside, I had a lot of emotions that, there was like years of my identity. Like there was so much there. Like my daughter just started at a private school. We have 4 mortgages. Like it's a lot. And I was like, okay, we'll do this. We can do this. And it was a lot of trust of like, okay, this is happening. And literally like dominoes, I started getting like client after client after client after client that just like came out of nowhere. But obviously they were like I had them before that, but then added like after I was like I told all my clients I was like I got fired today, and then like more came, and I was like, oh, okay, and now I do what I love full time, and it's amazing. But it wasn't like blink and how people say like, oh, I was in corporate and I quit and now everything is perfect. It was definitely like trudging through, but now I can see why they needed me to stay, and why it was like why the it's all in divine timing, as we all know. But it was just like I was I couldn't have kind of predicted it, and I was very shocked because now that I look back at it, I probably, like I said, would never have quit, because like it wouldn't have made sense. Like my husband would have been like, "No, that's not going to happen. Like, no, you're not doing that." And so I needed to be kicked out of the nest, and now I'm just like on rocking on all cylinders because I waited, like I waited for the arrow to be pulled back and pulled back and pulled back. And when it was released, I could like really go. But yeah, I couldn't have told you that this is how it was gonna go.
So you went through this dark night of the soul. You obviously were kicked out of the nest, but you were doing healer work, let's say a year ago. So how has what you were doing a year ago changed to what you're doing now?
It's so interesting because what I was doing a year ago was very much the precursor to what I'm doing now. I feel like what I'm doing now is so much deeper because of the experience I gained through going through my own dark night of the soul, going through my own, like having to heal my own wounds, having to do my own work. And so I'm bringing in all of this experience because I'm a 6'3" in human design, right? I learned through experience. And so I did healer work before, and not to say I didn't do a good job. It was very much just like surface level. It wasn't like I was in the trenches and I know what it feels like to feel I don't want to be here anymore. And a lot of the things from my toolbox are things that I had to go through, which I feel like is such a starseed type thing. You sign up for lessons so that you can heal others through that are going through something similar. And so now, since I was able to unearth all of those things and experience what it feels like to be like at such a low level, and having, whether it's past life or suppressed memories come up and having to deal with it, when my clients come to me with those, it's like, okay, I know how to hold them. I don't think I would have been able to hold the level of depth and the level of clients that need me a year ago. The clients that came through and the work that I was doing then was what was, and I think it was in alignment with where I was. And so that's the thing I also say to healers is like, if you don't do your own healing work, you're going to plateau and you're going to not be able to really meet your clients to the depths that they need because you're not going at your depths and you haven't gone through that. And so like the more you go into your dark nights, the more you go into your shadow, the more you do all that work, the opportunity is there for you to alchemize. And then the vibrational match for clients that need that level of like to be held for them will kind of shift. And so that's why I'm always like, it's not about your funnels, it's not about your sales message. It's not like what are you doing energetically to work on being able to meet someone that needs where you're going through. Like you're basically serving the person that you were, 6 to 12 months ago. So yeah, I think it's just like the depth has gone like so much deeper since a year ago.
Have you
Yeah,
seen any common themes with the clients that you've been working with lately?
clients who have been kind of healers and have been doing this work for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and have been trying, a lot of clients who've done plant medicine, so have done ayahuasca, multiple of those, and is kind of over it. Like is has not necessarily negative experience with it, but has really woken up to the lack of integration that happens after those ceremonies or as part of those, and they are looking for someone who will really hold them as opposed to just kind of like give them an experience and then like let them go. I also see a lot of my clients, like I said, who are kind of over Western medicine and who are looking for root cause healing and understand that every physical symptom has an energetic, really root cause, and they want to kind of really delve into like what the fuck is happening and why am I here. I think that's a lot also like what's my dharma, why did I come here, why am I here, like I want to really delve into like the next layer, and they have spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy already on doing their work, but they still feel like there's something missing, there's something that they haven't been able to like get to in their own healing journey.
Yeah, I feel like there's this it's come up a couple of times in my mind as you've been talking that like it's almost as if the like access to all these different healing modalities is kind of mirroring Western medicine, right? Where like you are going to someone for a specialist to
Mhm.
get the thing for that one thing. Like I'm feeling anxious,
Mhm.
I am going to a sound bath to relax my nervous system. I'm going, and then now moving more towards like a functional medicine approach, a
Yeah.
holistic approach. And then I feel like that the next step beyond that is doing a combination of working with someone like a functional medicine doctor and then your own inner work at the same time to be healing yourself and then also working with someone to heal you. So I sort of see that parallel, right? Where in the space that you're working in. So now you're sort of at that latter stage where you're like, okay, not only like I'm not just gonna, work on this one symptom, or I'm not just gonna work on, so even though you're working in the business realm, business touches on, past lives, it touches on emotional sides of things, it's so much more than
It's such
business.
an issue. Like like our initiations, because we've lost actual initiations, we've lost mystery schools, right? Our initiations in modern age is relationships, parenthood, and businesses.
Mhm.
Those are your like big initiations, and it brings up all of the shit.
Yeah.
Just bubble.
Those are the access
But I
points. It's so funny that you bring that up because we had Marguerite on the podcast a few episodes ago, and she was talking about the same thing. And you guys are going to be on a panel together at Soulward, so that's just going to be so magical. There's a couple things that you said that are very parallel to how
Yes.
she was entering in. So like the remembering when you did the Reiki, like how things you're like I've been here before, I've done this before, and so I'm really excited. Speaking of the summit, how have your guides brought anything up about the summit that you want to share? Or like where do you, not that predicting the future, but where do you feel like you're going to be activating or energizing people in the summit on that panel?
I think it's gonna be my people, right? Like it's gonna be healers who have business, and so that's why I'm so excited to bring these codes through as to like what's the next paradigm shift in for healing for healers, and how like what does it look like for you in your business as well as for your clients? Like how can we bring in like just really connect to your soul mission and your soul gifts, and like instead of just like looking at it like, oh, I have these certifications from this lifetime. Like I always say, like you have done this for multiple lifetimes. You just need to remember that you are as powerful as you believe you are, and there is limitless potential for every single, I honestly believe every single starseed on this planet has so much opportunity and so much support. We just need to, they just need to really connect with that. And so I think it's just this thing of like, you you need to be able to identify, like be aware of like the markers of like, okay, if there's like all of these, like it's, I call it a check engine light. So like my client would come, yesterday my client came to me, she was like, well, I feel this, because I asked her, so how many clients do you have? And she was like, I think I have like 16 clients. They're like, she's a therapist, like a holistic therapist. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so and we talked a little bit about something else. And then she came back and she was like, I feel kind of constriction with telling you how many clients I have. I'm not sure why, because I don't want it to seem like I'm like boasting or doing too well. Like I have this thing about like not telling people how much I'm making in my business. And she's like, I think it's because I want to keep myself small. And we kept going deeper and deeper. And I was like, nope, there's something more there. And we realized that she had a witch wound, deep rooted fear of stepping into her gifts and really being seen, because she was burned at the stake by her in a past life, and her sisters in that lifetime had turned on her. And the other thing that came through in parallel was she had a deep-rooted sister wound, and she couldn't, create the depths of a relationship with her sisters. And she was like, I don't know why. And I was like, here it is. And so there are markers of, these are things that we are all, one, either picking up from the collective, because it is time for us to heal our witch wounds, our sister wounds in general, in all the wounds. But specifically for healers, this thread that comes through when you see healers trying to play small, not feeling like they can come out of the closet, the spiritual closet, feeling like constriction around like, but what people say, like I kind of is like, it's more of like a thing I do on the side, And so like it's all markers I see as like, oh, there's something more there, and then getting to like the root of that. So I'm excited to really like talk about root cause healing and really and having people understand that it's not like it's a root in a room full of people. Most of them probably feel the same way, but everyone feels like they're the only ones. Like in your own bubble, and your ego makes you believe that you are the only one going like feeling this, and everyone else has it together. And so just like normalizing, I think, these experiences and these feelings, and saying it's not one, it's not just you, and two, there's a very, very simple, not simple, but very clear explanation that could be the reason for that. And then working on that, like really being aware of it first, and then second, what are you going to do about it once you are aware?
I love that. I love the analogy of the check engine light. So, for people who maybe are experiencing their check engine light, where can people find out more of what you do? Like where
So
Instagram, where are you at? Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram all the time. I'm finding joy with Fabi on Instagram. FabiCordaro.com is my website. I'm doing a revamp of that soon. I'm working on that right now for the new year. But yeah, I am most active on Instagram. If you want to reach out, follow along. I have a bunch of stuff on there. But yeah, I am so excited for the summit, and I can't wait to like just meet all the peeps coming together from all over the country. It's going to be fun.
It's gonna be so
We
good.
can't wait to have you there.
Thank you so much, Fabi.
We hope you loved that conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review this episode. We appreciate it so much, and we will see you next time.